Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for completing this entire blog on DigitalOcean course. We've done a lot of things here. Let's go over it and take a look at what we were able to do. So to begin with, well, we created a blog using MDBook. It's basically one of those static site generators where it doesn't, we don't have to run a server for it. We run a bunch of code locally, and then it generates a bunch of static HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files that then we can serve up using any other server of our choice. But then we needed to figure out a way to deploy that. So we chose to spin up a DigitalOcean VPS. In fact, we explored a little bit about what a VPS is and what the difference is between a VPS and a VPC. And then, well, once we have that VPS, we needed to lock it down. So we set up SSH keys so that we were able to log into it automatically without having to use usernames and passwords. We prevented the root user from being able to log in, which is really important because you really want to prevent who can log in as the root user. Because, well, root user gets access to everything, and that can be really dangerous. We created our admin account and gave it pseudo privileges so it can essentially act as a root user. It could also, elevate itself to root user if necessary, but now the only way to become root is to SSH in as that admin user and then use root. Now, of course, that admin user is pretty dangerous too. So we added two-factor authentication so that way nobody can just SSH in as the admin user without both the key and some kind of code from like a Google Authenticator application. Now, personally, I'm using a YubiKey, but any of those authenticator apps that generates those 6-digit key codes, that works here. And then also we set up auto updates with reboots because these systems do update, decently recently or decently often, and it's important for us to be able to keep them auto updated. Otherwise, we may end up running with some vulnerabilities that some hacker will be able to hit it and then gain access. Then we turn to deploying the blog. So deploying the blog, well, we ended up creating a different account, a deployer account that didn't have any admin access to it. That was really important for us because we wanted to make sure that, we'd have a key that somebody else could deploy with just really easily, which was that CI/CD system that we went over later. So we created the account, but we set up the key to have no passphrase whatsoever. Now, that passphrase is really important to have on most keys because you want, even if somebody gets access to it, you want them to actually have to spend some time to break it before they can use it, which would give you time to create a new one on all of your servers. However, in this case, because we're planning on having this key be used automatically by some other system, we had to make sure it didn't have a passphrase. Well, because of that, we ended up locking down the key. So that way it couldn't get a terminal at all. And every time you use it, no matter what you do with the key, it just ends up running a single command, which was to run a script. Well, what was that script? Well, it was a deploy script that we ran, which is basically just CDs into a directory, runs a git pull, runs the markdown book build command, and then we're good there. But of course, we needed to serve all that content up, so that's where Nginx came in. We set up Nginx to serve the blog, but not only that, we set up Nginx in a way to be able to serve any number of blogs or websites that we really want to in the future. And all we need is just different domains pointing towards the same site, the same DigitalOcean droplet, and it will give them out to you appropriately depending upon what your domain is. And then, of course, because having just an HTTP blog, which in this case is not that big of a deal, but we want to make sure we're doing right. So we set up HTTPS using Let's Encrypt, which is perfectly free. Now those encryption keys will expire after 90 days, and we'll have to rerun the command, but it's pretty much as simple as what we did initially. Just log into the system and run a command. Then we set up GitHub auto deployments using GitHub Actions. This was, it's one of my favorite tricks, is the ability to set it up where, hey, I just push to our GitHub repo and then it just auto deploys to GitHub to DigitalOcean. We don't have to do anything at all. It just keeps everything up to date. Yes, please. Absolutely. Every time. It takes a little bit of work to get it set up initially, and you saw that we had a little bit of a struggle going there, and that's fine. Every time you do this, it's to be expected. It's going to take you a few tries to get there, and that's perfectly okay. But eventually we got there, and and now GitHub Actions is just going to be automatically running for us every single time. Now, what are the next steps? Like what can you do next with, to like stretch your skills more? It kind of depends upon where you want to go. What do you want to learn? If you want to go more down the web development path, I would recommend learning something like Rocket.rs if you want to stay with Rust, or if you want to go along more like the Node.js path, maybe like Express server. So create an Express server and then set those up on a DigitalOcean droplet. Now, those will actually be servers running on your droplet, which means that you'll still use Nginx, but you have to configure it slightly differently where it's going to reroute traffic instead of just serving up static files. So that's going to be slightly different. Now, if you want to go down more the DevOps path and just start setting up DigitalOcean servers for your company, or you just need to create a bunch of them, there are tools like Ansible that make the configuration of those really fast. It took us, several sessions. For me, it was over several days to sort of like do this. Now, I was only working for like an hour or two each day, getting them done. But that's a lot of time if you want to spin up like 50 of these servers over like a 1 month period, or maybe even over the year. So a tool like Ansible, you configure it once, which will take a while. But once you configured it, you spin up a new server and then you just say, hey, Ansible, do your thing. And then you just go off, get yourself a cup of tea. And when you come back, all of them have been set up and it's great. So that's actually another really nice tool to have. And of course, you could go down both of them and become maybe like a full stack developer who also does DevOps. And that's extremely a good skill set to have if you want to work at startups, or maybe more of like the skunk work type teams in larger companies. Now, if you haven't already set yourself up with DigitalOcean, then I do have a link down in the description where you can sign up for DigitalOcean and get $100 credit over 60 days to sort of give it a try. For full disclosure, if you then do continue with DigitalOcean and spend $25, I will get $25 credit, and then you can also get your own link to send out to whoever's following you, or any of your friends and family, and then you get the same benefits. That being said, I don't want you to like go out and just like spin this up and spend $25 just to give me the credits. This is more of just like, hey, for the $100 credits you can have, go ahead and sign up for that. Anyways, once again, thank you everybody for going through this course. If you enjoyed this, or you have any feedback, you'd like to see something slightly different next time, I've already taken feedback from the previous course that I've did and added in for this one, and I'll be happy to do the same thing for the next course that I do. So once again, thank you everybody for following along, and I hope that you have a great a day, week, year, whatever time it is when you're watching this, and happy coding and DevOpsing. Bye.